Hi, it's Warriors coach Steve Kerr, and this is Bay Area Sports Wrap.
Steve, hi. Good afternoon. When you look at the game last night, I mean, you guys only committed 13 turnovers, but the Nets are able to score 26 points, which is obviously a really good ratio. I mean, do you just kind of credit that to them as just having good execution?
They played really hard. I give them a ton of credit. They deserved that win, especially the way they came back from 18 down mid-third. Some of it is them playing hard. Some of it is our poor execution. And so we had a good practice today. We needed it. It's first practice in about a week. And I think our performances the last two nights reflected the fact that we needed a lot of work execution-wise. And really that's at both ends. So, you know, the margins in this league are really slim. Everybody's got talent, even on a night when, you know, the other team's missing players. Everybody's got talent. Everybody's got guys who can make a bunch of threes. They made 20 of them last night, so they earned it.
And just a quick follow-up. What is it with Dennis Schroeder's game? He always seems to play well against you guys, no matter what uniform he's wearing.
Plays well against everybody. He's a really good player. You know, he's gotten better with age as his shot has improved. He's very confident. He's in control of the game with the ball, but also emotionally. He's an excellent player.
Steve, when you mentioned you had a good practice today, I'm wondering, what's the ratio like today in terms of how much do you spend on video exam and how much do you spend on the court?
Yeah, we probably did 45 minutes of film and then about an hour on the court. So we needed a lot of both. And, you know, that's it's a common theme in the NBA these days that you have to catch up because, you know, it's pretty much game every other day all season long now, the way the schedule plays out. So it's hard to have a, you know, really physical practice. You're not doing a lot of physical stuff. You're not doing a lot of contact, but you have to go over the basics and you know, fundamentals at both ends. And when we do, it shows the next game. So that's been the pattern all season. I expect that to show up tomorrow.
Yeah, last night you beat yourself up a little bit. You said something along the lines of how, you know, you got to be better execution, and that's on me. But I mean, were there really actual things that you looked at and said, I didn't hate to see?
Oh yeah. There's always, you know, when we lose, there's always stuff that I look at and, you know, after the fact, in hindsight, I should have done this. You know, last night I wish I'd taken a timeout at the end of the third when we had the 2-for-1. I had a timeout to burn. You know, I could have used the timeout, gotten us a little more organized. Maybe we close the quarter better. That's two games in a row where the third quarter has ended badly, and it's set up the momentum in favor of our opponent. So that's on me. That's, as a coach, I've got to fix that. And during the game, I probably could have managed that better.
Stephen, going back on the film, what have you seen that might be not a trend, but something that was similar in these last two games? You talked about not having enough juice toward the end, but anything execution-wise that you saw that, like, we need to fix this?
Yeah, for sure. Defensively, just lack of focus on our rotations. They were getting to the rim, and there was nobody there 5, 6, 7 times last night where, you know, it's an automatic rotation from that low man defensively that we've been making all year, but the last two games we haven't made it consistently, and that just opens up the cookie jar right there. So it's clear what we need to do better defensively. We messed up some guard screens, communication-wise. End of the third, we had two of them, 2 mistakes that led to 2 threes. So it's clear as day when you watch the tape, which is actually encouraging because, you know, the body of work so far is much more on the positive side than on the negative side. So offensively, getting into stuff, executing stuff with more pace and force, not having as many random offensive possessions, those are the things that showed up on tape.
When on that offensive thing, is it more you guys, the movement and the cutting is just not there, or is it what defenses are trying to do to you guys?
Well, it just depends. Every game's different. They were switching everything last night, you know, so they disrupted us some. But we know how to execute against switching. We went over some of that today. And I'm confident we'll be better against that tomorrow.
Last thing, how's Kuminga doing?
He practiced today, so he looked fine.
Steve, you're at plus minus this season. The second half with Steph on the floor, you're something like plus 80 and then like minus 20 without him in the second half. What needs to happen? What's the message to make sure that the offense doesn't get stagnant when he's not out there?
Well, I think those numbers have really shifted over the last maybe 4 or 5 games, I'm guessing, because I know early in the season that was a real strength of ours, the non-Steph minutes. So I try to look at these things from a macro perspective. What's happening right now compared to early in the year, I would say, what the execution has suffered the last couple of games. We're not making as many shots. We started out the year, I think, shooting the ball really well. So you have to be able to win games when the ball's not going in and when guys are struggling a little bit. That's the most important time for execution, when you're not getting a bunch of easy stuff in transition. And the last 2 games we've hardly forced turnovers to create easy looks in transition, and our offense has suffered because of it, and we're not executing as well in the half court.
To kind of follow up on the macro, I mean, last night you even said, like, hey, this isn't a time to overreact. It's 2 games, right?
Yeah.
Where do you kind of strike that balance with the team as far as we have to correct these things, but in the grand scheme, it's an 82-game season.
Right.
Let's not overreact to all this.
Yeah, and what's disappointing is the last 2 games were very winnable, right? Big leads on the road in San Antonio, home last night. Those are games we should close out, and obviously we're facing a daunting schedule ahead, so it's disappointing. But it's 82 games, and we're going to be facing all kinds of stuff, whether it's tough schedule, injuries like we have now, people out. Doesn't matter. Nobody cares, So it's our ability and every team's ability to win games in the midst of difficult stretches, to play through the bad stretches, to not get too down, and you trust that over the course of the 82. If you have a good team and you're committed and you're playing with energy, that the record's going to end up pretty good.
BP hasn't been himself lately. It seems like he's even lapsing into some over dribbling at times. And what's your message to him besides just get through this?
Yeah, just play hard. Just do your thing. I mean, he's such a good basketball player. He still makes important plays for us, even when the ball's not going through the hoop. He took the charge last night. That was a big play. Made a couple of great passes. He's an impactful player. He wins. He's a winner, and he's a young player though. And when as a young player, you go through tough stretches. You have to figure out how to get through those stretches, and that's his challenge right now.
Steve, when you're sort of making this calculus about how to best use, say, Steph and Draymond for the number of minutes you want them to play, is there ever a consideration of like in baseball, they say you bring in your best guy during high leverage situations. Like if something starts to drift like it did last night, is there ever a temptation to just say, well, he can sit the last 5, but he should play now while we take care of it?
I mean, it's a good point. I think it's something we do in the playoffs for sure. In the regular season, over the course of the 82, you want to build trust with groups. You also want to develop patterns and rotations because guys are very comfortable and dependent on routine. And so it's a little dangerous to start bringing guys in different times, especially in the regular season. It is a consideration depending on the game and the importance of the game and all of that. But we think about these things all the time, and we try to balance the scope of the entire season with how much are we disrupting our patterns.
OKC obviously is without Chet, but Hardenstein's back. I mean, how does that make them different than what you last saw from them?
Yeah, when we saw them, when Chet went down, it became a small game the rest of the game. So now it's very different. Hardenstein's back. He's a high-level player. I think he played 30-plus minutes the other night. So it changes things. When he goes out, they're still injured in the backup roles, so it'll become a small game when he's out. But when he's out there, he becomes a pick-and-roll player, a good passer out of the pocket, a finisher. and hell of a rebounder too. So it changes things at the rim. They have a lot more force and size there.
The list of what Shea does really well is kind of long, but when you watch him, I mean, what are the 2 or 3 things that you can pick on and say, these are the things we really have to try and limit or make sure he doesn't get going on?
Yeah, we can't foul him. That's the number one thing when you play them. If he gets to the line 12 times, that's 6 possessions. You're taking the ball out of the net, playing against a set defense, and I think they're the number 1 defense in the league. If not one, they're right there, but the fouls are the killers. He's going to make tough shots. You can't give him the easy stuff in transition, and you can't give him the free throws. Thank you, guys.
Hi, everybody. This is Joe Starkey, longtime voice of Cal football and the San Francisco 49ers for about half a century working those 2 teams. For Bay Area Sports Wrap, I'm saying hello. And give us a like and subscribe to our YouTube channel.